Steve Kim on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. All right, we'll go back and forth. Let's go to good coaching now. The season results so far for Mario Cristobal have been good. I saw a really interesting conversation that you had retweeted with Michael Irvin, someone getting on Michael Irvin, some other Canes legends who are now backing Deion in Colorado at times, and Michael Irvin friggin' lost it on this Canes fan.
Well, here's what happened. Look, and Michael has spoken to other teams and organizations, and Warren Sapp has too, and The Rock is an icon. I think he's beyond football. The biggest problem that the diehard Miami fans had was not that they went to go speak to Deion Sanders' team, because they are friends. I get it. There's certain things that go beyond football. What upset a portion of the fans is that when they went to Boulder a couple weeks ago and they went to the game on the sideline with Nebraska, they actually wore a Colorado Buffalo gear.
Ooh.
Steve, I'm not going to lie to you.
All right.
Michael Irvin's my all-time favorite athlete from the University of Miami. It was kind of jarring to see him with that Buffalo on his chest. I don't really have a problem with him being there, supporting the team. You can wear your Nike gear or whatever. And what really helped set this off, or also put a little match to the flame, was Alonzo Highsmith, Hurricane great from the 80s, who was a teammate of Michael Irvin, played on those great Renegade squads, and he now works at the University of Miami football program, basically the football general manager. He put up a Facebook tweet with the three guys with all their Buffalo gear on saying, I wouldn't do it. If it was me, you would never catch me in another team's gear. That's when it really started to take off, that story. And, Steve, I'm not going to lie to you. As a diehard Miami fan, it did kind of rub me the wrong way to see guys wearing other paraphernalia from other programs.
I'm good with that. I didn't know all the background. I'm very good with that. Steve Kim is with us. All right, back to good coaching, or actually continuing with good coaching. Mike McDaniel and what they're doing with the Dolphins, and almost an arrogant, like kind of Canes-like from the 80s and early 90s. They're killing the Broncos, and then they do this like reverse flip pass. I mean, that is the height of arrogance and execution.
I've never actually seen that. So it's the reverse. They did the orbit motion, and it looks like they're going to run an end around, and they do a no-look shovel pass. I've never seen that before. And Mike McDaniel has put together an absolute track team. I mean, think about this, Cofield. Henry Waddle did not play yesterday. That's the scary part about what they did. One of their sprinters did not play. And I'm not a Dolphin fan, but as a football fan, I am very, very curious, and I want to see Tua stay upright, because I want to see how sustainable is this over a 17-game season, and what kind of numbers can they procure. And that young rookie running back, Devin Achane, he's an absolute sprinter. I saw him last year at Texas A&M. He's another guy that runs a legitimate 4.3. Mostert is another guy that's one of the faster running backs in the league. So they have speed at every position. And the creativity of Mike McDaniel, I haven't seen anything outside the box quite like this that seems to be ahead of the curve since Mike Martz in the late 90s with the Rams.
Tua was looking. Let's relax.
Well, I'm sure he's peeking out.
He was looking right at him.
I'm sure he was peeking out of the corner of his left eye.
No, it's Deion all over again, playing loud music and everybody fawning over it. No, he was looking.
Oh, really? We're buying it too.
You're probably the type of guy that says that Magic Johnson was looking with all his no-look passes.
That's John. That's JVT.
You can't just enjoy the art form, the artistry that we saw at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah. JVT is a bitter old man, although he's like 20 years younger than us. All right. Speaking of old men, and I don't want to sound like an ageist, but we had a lot of ageist moments this weekend. Skip on Fox came up with the notion that Dan Lanning is actually afraid of Deion in the future, and he finished off a tweet by saying, #he coming. There's a lot in this. Should a 70-year-old white say he coming?
Well, first of all, then you need to follow that up with pause. But there's no doubt. I think old Skipperoo needs to go to the doctor, because he's got a very, very viral case of, it seems like, white guilt. I actually saw the first segment of Undisputed, and oh my God, the crying and the whining from those three. Yeah. Keyshawn Johnson actually said that Dan Lanning, all these other coaches across the country, they came together like with Voltron to beat. Hey, first of all, Dan Lanning's an excellent coach. I don't think he needs a lot more outside help to beat a 23-point underdog. And what they did was very simple. They were just a better team. I don't think it's an indictment on Deion. But Deion Sanders and his team, with their behavior at times, like stomping on the logo, trying to rub it out, putting their cleats in it, they make themselves a target. We talked about this last week. If you are going to act in this manner, you better be ready for the blowback and teams to be incredibly motivated to face you. And this whole notion that somehow Dan Lanning was unsportsmanlike,
oh my God,
it really is. That show Undisputed it begins to lose credibility when they just cannot tell the truth. Oregon was the better team. Dan Lanning was the guy with the better team, and that's it. That's the story. Yep. Bottom line.
Dish it, take it. Simple. If you want to dish it, then you're going to get it back, and you need to take it. You know what's funny? On the game broadcast, it was like the middle of the second quarter, and Joe Tess is on the game, and he sounded depressed. Like, why are you sad? Well, they're like, oh, it's the end of the story. Like, it's not the end of the story. Just call the game.
Part of it. I want to see when Deion says, look, here's the ironic thing, Steven. I want to give Coach Prime credit. He's actually acting and behaving better than anyone involved in any way. He's actually saying, you know what, get me now, because it's the worst we're going to be. They whipped our butts. They whipped us all the credit. He's the one guy that's not whining and crying. He's actually saying all the right things. This is part of the story, and I've said this to you, Steve. I hope that he actually sticks around far beyond his son's eligibility, because it's going to take some time to build the trenches. They have a lot of speed on the perimeter, really good skill position players, and obviously a great quarterback. But I would like to see Deion give this 5, 6, 7 years and see, can he actually build a sustained program like a Kirby Smart and guys of that ilk, because he's going to be able to recruit. But I think it is part of the story. And guess what, Steve? The story's not over. They play USC this week at home. So this is part of the journey. But I actually give Deion credit. He's showing a level of maturity that a lot of his, I hate to say it, groupies lack.
Steve Kim is up on Cofield and Company. His spot is presented by Snack Nutrition, SNAC, snacknutrition.com. Real quick on this one, because I do want to get to the Canelo fight before we get you out of here. What do you make? What is going on? This feels like a work with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. What is happening here?
Well, now it's becoming the most overblown story. It's interesting with the Travis Kelce. All of a sudden, he's coming out as a pitch man for Bud Light and Pfizer. Huh? That's interesting. And now I guess that made him eligible to date Miss Taylor. And I think in a year when they break up, Taylor's going to have some football-related songs. Look, that's going to make watching Kansas City Chiefs games unbearable.
It already was.
And
next
look,
level.
Just when you thought that Patrick Mahomes' wife was the most unbearable, annoying white woman, now Taylor Swift comes along. Good grief.
All right, what's going to happen with Canelo and Charlo?
Steve, there's a particular pattern this year in major fights that the fighters coming in off a year-plus layoff who are facing other elite fighters have gotten smashed. Josh Taylor, Errol Spence, Stephen Fulton. Jermell Charlo has not fought since the May of 2022. Canelo has at least been a little bit more active. He fought in May, and Jermell Charlo is moving up 2 weight classes right off the bat. All of those things, unless Canelo has turned completely old and is going to go backwards physically, I can't see anything other than a relatively late-round knockout for Saul Alvarez.
Okay, do the unheard of, because we've had this in the past one time that I can remember in the fight game. Please tell us that Canelo at minus 420 is good value.
In my view, it is, based on... Right. I'm not seeing a lot of people pick Charlo, to be honest with you. And all of those, sometimes the most obvious factors and the most obvious choices are the right ones to make. I guess you could say that there is value in betting at minus 400, I guess. But you know what the real value is? In picking the right guy for the right reasons.
Exactly.
And I still have questions. Do I think Charlo's going to be the quicker, faster fighter in the beginning? Yes. But I have great question marks as to how he's going to handle getting hit consistently by Canelo. If you go back to his fights with Brian Castano, one of which we were very fortunate to walk away with the draw, he was not the most elusive fighter, and Canelo, I believe, is a sharpshooter. So, look, if you were saying, Steve, gun to head, regardless of the odds, who would you pick? I would go with Canelo.
3 knockdown rule coming back this week with Mario Lopez. By the way, is Mario a Chargers fan?
He is a Chargers fan, and I'm going to press him today because we're going to tape the show in about an hour and a half. He knows the Spanos is, so he has to be very diplomatic. But, I mean, come on. I guarantee you, right around this time yesterday, he probably wanted Staley fired. So, I mean, the next game, maybe Staley will go for it his own 3-yard line, and who knows. The guy's lucky. The guy's lucky to have a job.